it. If the contract say you're supposed to get the ticket, part of the tickets, then give him part of the tickets. They didn't honor the contract. That's the problem.
Well, I
And
mean,
if you're
Deion
not honoring,
Sanders.
no, if you're not honoring the contract, and this man is freely giving out of his pocket to help make the school better, and he's doing all these things to make the school better and make the program better, then the bare minimum is honoring the contract. That is the
And
base level. Why do black people and black organizations get a pass of fucking each other over?
so
You
why
don't.
does he get a pass? Why does
Always
he get
do
a
this.
what? So then why does he get a pass for not being the dog whistle to the problem?
Okay, all right. So, topic one: Deion Sanders is the head coach for the Jackson State University football team. He has recently decided to move on as the football head coach of the University of Colorado. This has been seen as a betrayal in the African American community because Deion is black and Jackson is an HBCU. Was a move like this disloyal? Should Sanders have stayed since this HBCU was the ticket for raising his coaching career, especially in a sport that oftentimes doesn't value them? Or is it unfair to ask that of him and he should be focused on 100%, 100% on what is best for himself? Right. Credit to our friend Bam, who unfortunately couldn't make it here today. But yeah. So um, we Deion Sanders, I believe, was a football player himself. That's one name I remember vaguely. I'm not a sports guy. I'm sorry.
I
But yeah,
remember it from family.
yeah, he was a sports person. Not a sports person. Anyway, he became a head coach of this institution. And now there's like a kerfuffle about that. Uh, so yeah, you know what? I'll start with because our local football expert. We'll start with Joe. Um, Joe, do you know, or maybe you don't know, because do you know about the story?
Yeah, I'm aware of
Okay, all right, then start us off, please. Good.
it. Yeah, it shouldn't be of a surprise to anyone who follows anything, whether it be about Dion or college sports. He never was like a revolutionary person for black people. He just happened to fall into an opportunity at Jackson State and was successful at Jackson State, and he does what successful coaches do, regardless of the language that they give, is go to a better situation. Um, and he didn't really hide that fact. So it's kind of bizarre to me why people were necessarily surprised that his sort of like revolutionary language around HBCUs betrayed him when the opportunity saw itself. Yeah, that's really all I necessarily have on it. Like he's just doing what in his situation somebody who's in it for the money and notoriety does. Like you build a program to a point of being successful, and then you leave when the opportunity sees itself appropriate. Um, yeah.
Okay. We'll go to um, uh, we'll do a counterclockwise. So we'll go to Waterkai, for opening statement.
Pretty much agreeing with Joe on this one. I don't see why anybody should expect just because he's black that he should have to stay at an HSBCU or seem ungrateful. I think they should be grateful that they got to have a football star coach their team and actually be successful. So now they got a blueprint from Deion Sanders and he wants to move on. They got their time and that's great for them. But capitalism does what it does and he's moving on to greener pastures and you can't fault him for that.
Thank you. Racer.
I'm in complete agreement with Joe and Waterkai on this one. It's literally just a capitalist move. Like, obviously, people want to make money, want to do have a better life for themselves. The man did a great job, as Waterkai said. Gave them a blueprint, made them better. Now, if someone wants to pay him more to go to this, to come to their school and do the same, why would he? Why would he pass that up? I would take it like in a heartbeat.
All right. Next, we'll try Al.
You're muted out.
I don't think he's talking yet. Or it's frozen.
Okay.
He's frozen the screen. Okay, all right. Well, okay. Well, well,
Back to him. Ooh,
yeah. We'll
technical
keep
difficulties.
pushing.
There you go.
So next.
So I do think he hoodwinked a bunch of people. I mean, especially the players that he recruited. I mean, they can enter the transfer portal, but a lot of his like preachings were about bolstering HBCUs and black players going to HBCUs, and now a lot of those players are um, moved like basically their entire lives. So I do think it was a pretty fucked up move, and if I do think there were other options he probably could have explored. But
Okay, all right. I'd like to hear an opposing opinion here. Uh, so yeah, let's expand on this. It seems like like this is just like a common thing. Why don't you think Nix that he should have like what are the other options you think he could have explored?
Well, I mean, for the first part, like his whole campaign originally upon arriving there was bolstering HBCU programs and getting black athletes to go to those HBCUs. And like if he was looking for upward mobility, I feel like he could have, maybe there weren't head coaching jobs available, but I feel like he could have gone to a bigger school like Howard or Hampton.
What else?
Well, I mean,
I
that's interesting, but why should he have to settle or stay at HSBCU? Like, you can be, there's no reason for him not to try to bolster the system and get students to go there, but all those schools don't have Deion Sanders there. So I don't see what the problem is. He is saying he appreciates those colleges. So he wasn't lying and he wasn't hoodwinking anyone. And those players can still transfer because you don't have to wait a year or a season to be able to play after you transfer. So if they go with him, that is possible. He may take players with him.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was. I didn't even know that was an option per se. That actually is even that would end up fixing a lot of any problems people might see. Because again, it's his personal life. I don't feel like he should be forced to pull back at all just because he happens to be because he happens to be black and this in the college is historically black college. I don't feel like that should be a thing that he should be looked down on for because of it at all. Like,
Well, I mean, I do also think he took advantage a little bit of that system where, like, one of the reasons that program was so great that year was, of course, he brought his sons, but as well, like you stated earlier, that he gave Jackson State or other HBCUs a blueprint, and I just don't agree with that, being that one of the main reason the program was so great this year, going 12-0 in their conference or whatever, was just solely off of recruiting, and obviously there is like a coaching element to it, but there really is no blueprint to just having Deion Sanders or someone like that recruit players to your program. There's no other alternative besides having a coach like that that can draw people in.
That's,
So I do
and
think he's left them kind of high and dry. I don't think they have any sort of blueprint to work with. And I mean, maybe a lot of those players are willing to stay, but long term, it's all about recruiting.
I
well,
guess
and
I'll
having a
expand.
good team. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. I was gonna say. Well, then I guess I want to expand this past just the realm of football, um, because it's like a pretty niche thing. What do we think about black people who have black excellence? Okay, this idea of black excellence, and people who have made it in different fields, right? Do they owe the community something? Right. That's basically what the story comes down to, right? Deion Sanders, you know, famous football player. If I had known his name, then he must have been pretty fucking famous. If I knew what his name was.
2 Super Bowls.
And um, uh, and then he went on to apparently be a successful coach here for this team, right?
yeah,
But so he's achieved excellence. So like, but what does he owe? And for others, people in other areas of society, right? What do they owe to the community? Or, is it we're all in it for ourselves?
I think it's just a special, not even a special case for Deion. It's just that it was never about the community at large for him. It was just about the people around him, and in this case, his family. Um, he was always sort of in it for ego. He was always in it for his own self interests, and even when he took on a position, it's still the same Dion in it for his own self interest. This is a man who played two professional sports at the same time, and he only was able to do that because he was Deion Sanders. Like that's just something that when you're at that level of status and notoriety that you're just allowed to do, and then people are just need to like sort of bend your will around you. Now he could have used his status and ability in other ways to help people around him, like to help people like outside of his initial circle of community, but that was never about it for him. Um, it's the same was true when he was in Atlanta. Same was true when he was in Dallas. Same was true when he worked as an analyst. Like it's very clear in his actions and navigations. He's in it for himself. Um, and to be honest, like if you're trying to do what he's trying to do and to be at the level of the equivalent of a Nick Saban type, and that's what you got to do. You have to be like incredibly selfish, say the right things at the right time, and that's what he did.
Thoughts?
Much what I see from it. The dude was pretty much an ego. He was a superstar. He knew he was a superstar. The fact that nobody else gave him that shot and they did, they benefited from it, in my opinion. They could have no wins, they could have no path to victory, and now they have some prestige and they've had a good coach. And more people may still want to go there because I would think more so than that specific coach, if they continue winning and being successful, people will want to come and they can be recruited. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
Because then people always have that thought of like, oh, Deion Sanders went here, didn't he? He coached here before. I want to go here and see if I can get the whatever that energy he left behind is. People always have that that kind of thought process when they go to new places, or they are looking into going to certain places because they'll look into the history of everything for the school, I should say.
Thanks for being here, Taj.
Hey.
We got a little bit of a background noise.
Hey,
If you got a fan or
how's it
something,
going?
maybe. Yeah. But thanks
Ah.
for being here, friend.
Damn. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me.
absolutely. We've missed you. Taj always out there, busy, right? An example of black excellence. So we were just talking about you, in fact.
Uh-oh.
So we were doing the first story on Deion Sanders, and we had well, one, you can just give your opinion on that, and then I was trying to expand this out to like not just him, but black excellence in general, and like what do people who like have excelled in certain fields, do they owe the black community anything?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think that black people in particular that have excelled in certain fields and paved the way for other black people, I'm hoping that they do for black people, and I'm hoping that they continue to do for black people. And I think they do owe the black community as well.
How so?
Yeah, I think that and here's the thing about it. I think that it's very rare for like a black person to be successful and then like shut the door behind them for other black people. I believe in like a next generation affirmative action where say like there's like an older black professional that helps out a younger black professional and like helps them become better than what they could have done by themselves. I think that a lot of black people already do this, and I think they're obligated to just for pretty much the survival of like a marginalized group.
So, do you think then that Deion Sanders has like not fulfilled his obligation then?
The way I see it, it looks like Deion Sanders is in the process of fulfilling it. I think that Deion Sanders going from an HBCU to like a bigger PWI, predominantly white institution, sorry. I think that in a way, like he's kind of opened the door for like more black coaching talent, where like HBCUs are seen as places like, oh snap, let's look at HBCUs and see like what type of culture that they can bring to our PWIs. Let's see what type of eyes and publicity we can get by bringing on like a more diverse range of coaches. And I think that's a great thing. Is there an argument to be had of like him staying and like making his Jackson State better? Yeah, there's an argument there for sure. I just think that either way he chooses, he still helps the black community.
I
I
think
count it
that
all joy, man.
I think that's super interesting. I'm curious what other people like Joe and other feel about how you just positioned this. So you kind of just
I like
change the perspective. So rather than focusing on necessarily like Dion being like the thing that makes HBCU great, but maybe the HBCU making like the coach great, right? Like that uh if he leaves his post, right? And the job opens up again at HBCU, will more likely than other institutions look for a black head coach, right? Give someone else maybe that opportunity so they can come up and show their stuff, right? So maybe these things can be incubators for like more excellent coaches rather than like this one guy post up there for 20, 30 years and like his legacy, it gets tied up on it. Instead, we want them to be pumping out, proving, being a proving ground, and then going off to do other things, right? Showing that these coaches can, of course, they can, be great for the game. So yeah, what do you guys think?
It's I don't know, man. He's gonna run into the same sort of problems that most athletes, in this case coaches, find themselves in. And that's really that your race can't matter in football. Your race isn't allowed to matter in football. It's kind of how it's always been. You can acknowledge like you're paving the way for other like black people maybe in your language, but that's where the buck stops. Like you can't make any type of acknowledgement that you're going to try to give like attention to students in places that they've been neglected and forgotten, because reactionaries see through that language. He's gonna basically sort of toe the line, and anything that is sort of racially charged in situations, whether it be sports or otherwise, he's gonna do what most coaches do and shut up. Like he's not like Deion's not stupid. He's not naive in how the system works. He's gonna play the system as it needs to be as it is intended. Like I don't see any way around it. He's adopting a terrible football program. Terrible. Colorado is terrible. And I don't know if his star power is enough to bring people there. But at the end of the day, I think that to give more elaboration on my take, he's just doing it for his son. I think it's naive to believe that his son is going to stay at Jackson State. I think his son is going to transfer to Colorado, and he's positioning his son to be a premier player in college football, despite the fact he's already not bad. But no one's going to pay attention to an HBCU. So position yourself to be a coach. Take your kid with you. I mean, the other quarterback they have is already in the transfer portal at Colorado, so he probably knows what's up if he just entered the portal this week.
Exactly. I think he's taking some players with him, and that is something he can do. And they're getting a different kind of opportunity. But all the same, I agree that it is a great thing that he went to that college, put in some work, and maybe another black head coach will do something great. I'd like to see that.
And he already tapped a guy. He tapped one of his assistants to be the next person, and like that's what he hopes. But at the end of the day, that's not might get what he wants, um, because like all the chips are off the table. Like all the chips are kind of are just like not there. I mean, again, like I think as much as I want to see people be successful, like I'm not trying to knock. I don't want to see Deion Sanders be a failure, but I don't know. You can't black excellence your way through college football. You might be able to do that talk through an HBCU, but white people don't give a shit. They don't give a shit that you're black. And if you're unsuccessful in college, they'll make sure you find another job. Um, so he has like a short clock and he knows that. So He can't be controversial, which means he can't talk about anything about race. So his race cannot matter in his tenure. And he has to make it so that there's got to be wins. It's not even wins, it's got to be bowl appearances and conference championships. But we'll see. He's in the Pac-10. Have fun. Like have fun dealing with UCLA and Southern California and Stanford. Like maybe you'll get some wins against Stanford, but
That's
I mean, with how terrible their
Go.
with how terrible their record was or has been, do you not think it's enough to just turn it into a winning or a season that's like over 500?
their last winning season, I think, was in what, like 2013 or something like that. But even before that, they've had spotty success. I mean, they were big when I was in school. Like when I was in school, they were a program that you ought to respect because they were under Gary Barnett. Gary Barnett is not an awful coach, but he, I think, retired. I want to say, but I don't know. Again, I don't want to see Deion be a failure, but
did you see what TransLifeWire posted in the chat? CBS News reporting Buffalo offered Sanders almost $6 million per year, which is more than the $300,000 per year JSU was paying him, half of which he donated back to the school so they could update and renovate athletic facilities. So it seems like he was a net win for the school. How many years does he need to give before people are like, okay, you can leave?
I will take that question on since I just got how many years. He did more than enough. Okay, the 3 years, like the 3 years of getting kind of screwed over, that they should have offered him more, and they were just like, nah. They were supposed to give him part of the tickets. He didn't get that allegedly, from what I read up on. Like there was so much he was supposed to get and didn't, and he's freely giving of himself. He didn't have to go to this school. He did this because he wanted to help the culture, and then the culture him over. Like what are you supposed to do? Like you get slapped 3 years in a row. I don't expect you to go back for the 4th year getting slapped around and robbed. I don't expect you to go back. I think that's wrong.
He was making enough money. Why are we fooling ourselves here? This is Deion Sanders.
It's no. There's not
Deion Sanders.
He was making enough money. No, you pay him what you told him you were gonna pay him. That's it. If the contract say you're supposed to get the ticket, part of the tickets, then give him part of the tickets. They didn't honor the contract. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, Deion Sanders.
If you're not honoring the contract, and this man is freely giving out of his pocket to help make the school better, and he's doing all these things to make the school better and make the program better, then the bare minimum is honoring the contract. That is the base level. Why do black people and black organizations get a pass of fucking each other over?
So why does he get a pass? Why does he get a so then why does he get a pass for not being the dog whistle to the problem as he was leaving, going to Colorado, and saying that's the reason why he's leaving?
He don't have to say nothing if he wants to.
So the other person can get fucked over
too. If he doesn't want to bash the organization, bash the school, and bash the organization, right? And he just wants to peacefully leave. He is more than welcome in his right to say, "I was not not mention getting fucked over." He doesn't have to.
So how does that protect the legacy of the other coaches who might be put in that exact same situation?
It's not about that. That's not about that. It's not about that. He don't owe the next coach anything.
Oh, so the other coach can get a shitty salary and have to spend half of his salary towards facilities.
They didn't get a shitty salary. He's probably like, hey, I'll handle this legally in the background as I move on to this next school. He's more than welcome to keep his business private. He doesn't have to involve us in his business.
But if the business
only came out because somebody did some digging around.
I mean, that's fine, but that tells me, like, kind of like reinforces what I was talking about earlier, which is that he's just in it for himself. Because if you're a coach, if you're a coach of a football team, and you know there's stuff that is working behind the scenes that has nothing to do with the players, it has nothing to do with the people around you, you should bring that up as a reason why you're leaving.
He doesn't have to explain why he's leaving. You don't owe your job, your employer, anything. You don't owe the society anything to explain why you are leaving. You don't have to explain why you're leaving.
He's
He
Deion
came there-
Sanders.
He came there to do a good job, and he did. He did a good thing. He gave what he was supposed to give.
Well, for
The
smooth,
organization, the school didn't give back to him.
well,
Yeah,
for,
but
okay,
then why is it? Then why? So like, then why doesn't he use the success that he's garnered to show his value and use that as leverage to get more money or better facilities?
He probably tried to, and they didn't do it.
Because he's only had 2 seasons under his belt.
No, they last minute on the same information we were reading. The last minute they offered him $1 million. Like that's probably a slap in the face because he's probably owed more than that.
But he also knows these schools are broke. So I don't know,
But
like
he
again,
brought
like
more money into the school. The school said we're gonna give you this money. It's part of the
Okay.
ticket sales. But if you got the money as part of the ticket sales, just give this man this money.
but do we
He's
know?
already donating extra money into the program out of his own pocket.
Yeah, and he
Give
can do
him
that.
the money that he was supposed to get.
Yeah, but I don't care if he
You
donates
turn
his
around and
entire.
then
I
offer
don't
me $1
care.
million and you stole from me from the last 3 years.
Listen,
like,
I don't care how much money you individually as a person put into the program. At the end of the day, for me, if there's a deal on the table and that matters that much to you, you should bring that up as a reason as to why you are leaving. So you position the other coach to know, oh shit, they might be doing the same thing to me. That's not protecting the program and caring about the program. That's just protecting yourself. But Deion Sanders is Deion Sanders.
No,
He can
that
set the
actually-
narrative.
that
He
actually
can set the
protects-
narrative about how he wants to leave with a phone call. That's how famous he is. He could literally
Wait,
call.
say that last part. Say that
He
last
could
part.
call ESPN today and set the narrative about why he is leaving. That's how much power he has.
But he doesn't need to do that because that's just piling on. That's just piling onto the organization.
How's it
If he
piling
doesn't-
onto
if he
the
doesn't-
organization
no,
to say?
So listen.
Alright.
Look. When these other organizations have 2 minutes. Okay, cool. Look, and when these other organizations, right? When people leave these other organizations, they don't explain anything. They just say, hey, you know what I'm saying? I'm leaving and I'm going to this place. They don't break down and do a science. It's only appalling to us as Black people because we're like, oh my God, he left his HBCU. We became invested in it because it was a good thing.
But
And the thing is if so there's a bad part of what you're asking for, right? If he does do that, right, it
Yes.
discourages other big name coaches from going to these HBCUs and coaching.
and then he can leverage his contract as so if he wants to. Stay.
But here's the thing. If he could have leveraged it, I'm pretty sure he would have. I think they were being assholes because they've already proven they have a track record. I can't give them the benefit of the doubt no more because you did it for 3 years. He wasn't paid.
Yeah,
He wasn't
he
paid
knew that
what
walking
he was
in.
supposed to be getting paid for 3 years.
He knew this walking
If
into the situation.
If he had the leverage, he would have used it. But he obviously couldn't. It obviously didn't happen the way he wanted.
Because
to
it wasn't
happen.
about
So
it
he
wasn't
did-
about the school for him. It wasn't about the school.
Bro, yes,
If it was about the school,
Yes,
if
it was.
it
'Cause
was
they
about
didn't-
the
they didn't
school,
budge.
yeah.
So-
If it was about
budge.
if it was about the school and the program and doing right by these young men and boys, he would have stayed regardless of the pay.
No.
That's what his language
no,
said.
no,
But
no,
again,
no.
he's in it for
Nobody-
himself. He's in it for
no,
himself, so now he's going to
no,
another
no.
shitty
How-
school.
How are
and-
you in it for yourself when you get, bro? If you get fucked for 3 years, you can't then go to the person that's suffering and going, "Yo, man, this guy is surely getting raked over the coals for 3 years. Man, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the culture. He
doesn't.
just casually invested a meal.
All right, so
into the
I'm gonna
program.
He
let some
invest-
other people in. Go ahead, Pyro.
Yeah, what's up, people? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me good?
You are
Roboting.
roboting a bit, actually, unfortunately.
Me and Pyro actually switched mics the other day, so like they're fucked from here on out.
Shut the fuck up. I know what I did. Hold
Okay, so
on.
Wait, hold on.
yeah,
We
go-
have
look-
Taj in
How
real.
about now?
Taj is in real time now.
yeah.
I know that's scary. It's
No,
scary.
Yo, I just had the Spectrum guy come to my house, gave me a new fucking cord for my modem or router, one of the two, and I'm like, I'm fresh. I'm fresh as fuck.
Bro, he's in the
All right, that
conversation.
is-
What year was your cord from? 2000?
Nah, I think what it is, man. I think what it is, like, there's a cat in my house, and I think it just like nabs at the cord, just like nips it every now and
Oh,
then.
sure. Blame the fucking cat. That's what we're all gonna do. We're just gonna
Yeah,
blame our pets now.
I
You're
hate
supposed to
cats.
do
Peter,
it.
hey,
Yes,
watch
I
out
do.
for Peter, man. They're gonna be outside your
Yeah,
house.
get
Peter, oh
your-
fuck
Can't
Peter. What
believe
they
we
gonna
having
do?
a
Like,
real time conversation. Y'all clap it up, man. Y'all clap it up. Come on, come on. Everybody
let's
show some love, man.
let's go to Pyro.
Yeah, cause like I'm listening to Smooth and Joe Lewis go back on and forth on this thing, and it's like I can understand where both y'all niggas coming from exactly. Like, Smooth, you believe that this dude didn't just fuck off on the school, that like he tried his best, motherfuckers weren't giving him the deal that they promised him, so he fucking bounced. I understand the shit you want too, because I just quit, and like I ain't tell them motherfuckers why I got a new, like why I quit. I didn't do any of that shit. As like an employee, yeah, you have that right. I think the angle Joe Lewis is coming from is the angle that like a lot of people are like, they expected him to be this like grandstanding symbol of something for this college, and then he's doing a thing like you said, he's not getting what he needs and what he was promised, so he's going somewhere that's gonna promise him something else. But like Joe wants that thing where he's like, he mentions that in the leaving, where he gives that reason because he's seen as like this big fucking figure for the, the college. Now, I don't necessarily agree that, he has to give it because, again, he's just a fucking employee. But, like, I think that's where, like, the division is coming in. Like, Joe's saying that, like, if you're going to be touted as this big person, give the reason if you care. And you're along the lines of, like, do what's for you because you an employee at the end of the day. You make the shit good. You do a good job anyway. And I can see that. Like, looking into the guy, like, he does do a decent job. It's not like he doesn't.
You say he went above and beyond.
I wouldn't say he went above and beyond.
Listen, like when Nick Saban went undefeated in his conference 2 years in a row, when I was in college, you know what the nigga did? He stayed in Alabama. Like, there's no like, but the thing is, again, like, I think Deion recognizes that there's no upward mobility in HBCUs. Like the ability to recruit, listen, like if we're going to be honest here, the ability to recruit all of those big white boys who play linemen is at actual schools that are predominantly white because that's where the talent's going. And Deion won't say it, but I will. Like there's no like way to skirt around that. Like he's like he overtly suggested that, and there's no way around that. Like you're not gonna get the big boys to come down to an HBCU, but you are gonna get the big boys at a predominantly white institution because those are the schools that they're looking at. Like,
I have a question for
I
Joe.
mean, Howard's got a big white line, so
Yeah, there's some big white dudes in like HBCUs. I think
he's
FAMU
got
has
our asses whooped
like
by
a big
Howard.
white guy on the defense.
wait, you're
But
talking
like,
about
what I
Howard
have a
University
question
football?
is like,
Yeah, Howard has a big white O line.
What's the record though?
It's not great.
Let's go
There's your
to
answer.
let's go to Tosh.
yeah, I had a question. So I think Smooth and Joe, I want to see how you guys answer this. So in organizations, there's something called like different terms. I'm gonna say 3 different terms, right? I'm gonna say employee, then entrepreneur, and then the third term is entrepreneur. So it seems like Smooth has employee expectations of Deion Sanders, but it seems like Joe, it seems like you had entrepreneur expectations of Deion Sanders. Do you have expectations of him as an employee or as like an entrepreneur? Someone that's like within an organization but acts like that organization is literally his own, takes quote unquote ownership, as a promotional speaker say, and like kind of like catapult the brand of Jackson State University. Is that what you're expecting of Sanders?
Well, that's the game in college football, right? Like you don't remember the players who go to these places. You remember the coaches. And Deion Sanders, I think, recognizes that he is the ability to be the black Nick Saban. Like, it's very clear that in his coaching ability, something is there that's special. Because, again, there's like a lot of personal stuff that goes about that. But I don't necessarily think that at any point, like, I think he just recognizes that that's the game and that anything that can position himself to be the Nick Saban is the game. Because you don't want to be the Nick Saban of HBCUs. There's nothing there. There's you're not going to attract the right people in order to make your program successful to compete with Power 5 schools. So with that in mind, yeah, I think that like for him, it's just his own personal brand of being the coach, because that's what's going to draw people in. Like people will go because of Deion Sanders being there, but I don't think he had the ability to leverage that type of power at HBCU. I don't think the money's there.
Okay, all right, thank you. I just had questions about that. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
We have
I want Smooth to answer that question as well. If Smooth comes back from his PS5.
yeah, well, let's see once he's back from that. GSU, our friend also just jumped in. Nice to see you again. Haven't seen you in a bit. GSU, do you have any thoughts on the Deion Sanders story?
Man, I actually missed all of this news when it broke because I was like traveling for work, and I couldn't believe when I found out what was happening that people were like mad at Deion for bettering his life, and like I think we got this like hero complex in our culture, unfortunately, where we see these large systemic problems such as like, like there's not a lot of black coaches, there's tons of black athletes, so we want to see ourselves in ownership position, and we see this one person and we're like, this is the hero that's going to change the entire market. And a lot of people have specifically been wanting people to do this at a HBCU. And y'all know how I feel about HBCUs, but I feel like this is the hero thing again, and like people got to understand that he's gonna make decisions that's better for his life, and if that's not at a HBCU, that's okay. Like a black man making money is a black man making money, regardless of what the primary constituents of that college is. So, I mean, I didn't see a problem with it at all, of course, but yeah, like are people mad that 5-star black athletes didn't migrate to Jackson State the moment he showed up? Like I think all of this stuff is unrealistic. So I don't have a problem with him leaving, just like I don't have a problem with him being there. I think it makes sense. It's more money.
Yeah, that's what was our point there.
Okay, so you guys think that it makes sense.
I don't like. I mean, maybe I'm just a contrarian. I think Colorado is not the place to go, but that's his job to find that shit out for himself.
I mean, I forget if someone already said it. Did they offer him like more than he was already getting paid?
It doesn't matter.
30 million for 5 years.
It doesn't matter. He's basically
Like
going to
an optic.
Dogwater University to try to uplift
Bro,
Dogwater University.
it does matter, bro. If
He's
I'm
getting
getting
more
paid,
money.
if I'm
Yeah,
getting paid bank, I'm going to do it. I'm sorry, Joe.
right,
It
yeah.
could be it
Exactly.
could be dog shit team USA, representing the shit team heel. Like, no, I'm gonna get paid that fucking bank, bro. Like,
Well, yeah, I'm with you on that, but like the thing that like I guess I'm trying to say is that none of this should be of a surprise, like because he wasn't a revolutionary black person to begin with, so he talked that talk when he needed to because he's allowed to. He can't do
he
that
stepped
at
up.
Colorado.
But hold on, what do you mean
Man,
by
listen.
he? Hold on. What do we mean by he's not a revolutionary black? Like, what's happening?
No, like he's like he talked a good talk about like caring about black people in Jackson State. He said all the right things, but he also said that if there's another job, he's going to entertain it. This is something that he's
Wait,
articulated
but
multiple
So if he,
times.
hold on, y'all. Hold on.
Good.
If he doesn't
Sorry.
sacrifice earnings to stay at Jackson State, he's not for the cause. He's not for the people, despite everything else that he's done.
I'm agreeing with Gambit on this actually. And
I
that's
don't think Deion
surprising.
Sanders is for black people. I'm sorry if that hurts
Well,
you.
hold on. So
Like,
wait,
Deion
someone
Sanders is
say-
in it for
hold on,
Deion
hold on.
Sanders.
So Joe,
Bro.
someone say- hold Sorry.
So Joe, I just want to know how entrenched in this position you are. If he gets some more black people in that organization at that school, getting them better opportunities, right? Saying bettering himself, bettering other people, bettering the black culture around Colorado, wherever that university is. I don't know what city it's in. If
Why are we
he's doing
talking about
all of
shit
that,
that
if he
won't
does
happen?
all those things in Colorado, he's still not a champion of the culture because he left that HBCU and them robbing him behind.
It has nothing to do with the HBCU. It has the fact that he's not for black people.
No, Joe, hold on,
Like-
because you can't wait. You can't keep saying the
So
same
he didn't
thing
help
over
none of
and
them
over
kids.
again. Like for me, it's like the idea that
Your
like,
race cannot matter if you're going to a Power 5 school. Period. It doesn't matter. his race and and being for black people cannot matter as a college football coach. It cannot matter because they will find a way to get you out of there. The minute things get a little bit tight, the minute things get too controversial, and he knows this. This is a man who was in the NFL.
Okay, so like just so I got you clear, just so like
He did
you
nothing for
say
those
you
kids.
time out,
and-
time out,
and
time out, Smooth.
teams.
Hold on. You saying that he's like him choosing to go to this school, he's putting himself in a position where if shit does get tight and the like identity does come up of black, like he's putting himself in a position he knows he won't be able to talk about it like he would be at this HBCU.
He can't. It's not a matter like he could try. That would be kind of cool. Like if things do get a little south and things that do a little get a little weird, because colleges like to do that. They like to get a little bit weird about race on things. And then if he has the ability to speak up on those issues, then we can see what happens. But we've seen what happened before with other black coaches in these positions. They get forced out in whatever way, in whatever capacity. But it's not about that when it comes to college. Like your race can't matter in college sports because it never did in the first place. Like it doesn't matter how many black kids he brings in there. Black kids are always gonna be going into the NFL. Like it's not gonna be something new miraculous that's gonna happen from one university to another. Like it doesn't make a difference.
So hold on, Joe. You seem real doomer. What did you expect?
I'm
out
not
of him?
doomer about it. I just know that
No,
I
no, no,
watch college
no.
football. I watch the
No, no.
NFL. I know that these coaches are in it for themselves, especially at the college
No,
level,
no.
because
I
that's
think
all that there is.
they should be in it for themselves a little bit because we're trying to make money.
No, they
but
have to. Not even. I'm
no,
saying.
no, wait,
I'm saying
wait, but
every college football coach, regardless of their race, is in it for themselves, whether it be at an HBCU or a non-HBCU. That's my stance.
that's every
So
that's
now-
every employee. That's
he's not
every
re-
employee. Hopefully, though, every
So he's not-
employee should be in it for
Every
themselves a
person
little bit.
Okay, so it sounds like Joe's not doomer. He's just being a realist,
No,
and I
wait,
guess
wait,
would be
wait.
the best way to say that.
Hold on, but this is
No,
what
that's
I'm
not
trying
even
to
being
ask
a
Joe,
realist.
though.
That is
No,
kind of
no, hold on. This is what I'm trying to ask you, though, Joe. Like, you seem to say something bad is happening because he's leaving
not bad.
Jackson State.
It's
But
just how the game is played. Like the
No,
game
but-
and the game has been paved from other coaches better than him. Like he
Wait, but
knows
it
what to
seems
say.
like
He
you
knows
had
not.
some.
What's up?
I mean, I came into this late, so it's
Yeah.
possible that I'm completely off base.
Mhm.
But it seems like you're saying you have some expectation with him in Jackson State that he's not fulfilling, and him leaving is not as good as a future where he stays. But then you say on the same breath that it's just football. There's nothing to do. His race don't matter. So I'm trying to square like, did you want him to stay? If so, what reasons were there that you wanted him to stay?
I think that if I'm Deion Sanders, with the fame and notoriety that he can bring to a program, I think he could have easily leveraged that at Jackson State for longer to hit a point where he is impossible to deny a position. I don't think Colorado is the way. I mean, but again, it's a calculus that you got to make, because do you stay at Jackson State and roll over that conference for 8 years and then have a position open up at a better school all the time, throwing your resources in there, knowing you're getting nothing in return and knowing that they're not going to give a fuck when you leave? Or do you recognize that there is no future there and you're going to have to, if you do go to college, like to a better school, albeit Colorado's pretty dog shit, like to shut up and dribble? I think he shows the shut up and dribble, which is fine. It's a choice that coaches make all the time, but especially black coaches.
What is he shutting up about, though?
Like all of the talk about being for black people, all of the talk about trying to like do right by these young men and boys, he can use that rhetoric at Colorado, but it can't be under any type of racialized lens of like why these situations are dire for these kids. Like he can't bring that to Colorado. That's got to stay at Jackson State.
Well, why does he have to say it like that? There's no
Because
way
he
to say
did.
it like
He
But
said
he
it like
can-
that.
He can say it. He can say it like that at Colorado. There's plenty of black
No,
coaches.
he can't. I'm saying he can't.
Bro, there's look. Even if you don't want to just single out black people, right? There's plenty of people that need fucking opportunity, right? So he could say the
Yes.
exact same damn thing, and it's still gonna fly and it's still gonna apply because poor people are fucking everywhere.
I think it's a bit disingenuous to like say he's not a part of the culture where it's like, yo, he could go up there, he could say the shit. He could get clapped like you saying he would if he says the shit, and then he could throw the fuss about it. He could
Right.
be the one to
Like,
throw the fucking fuss about
like
it. Like
that.
I'm
That's where.
not gonna make the choice preemptively because he's not because he's
So you
choosing,
feel
like,
like
a
he's
better
trading
job
his
offer.
voice, Joe. That's what you're saying.
I
You feel
I feel like it's possible for Deion Sanders to be able to speak freely and use his status to tell people to shut the fuck up. Like, I think that's possible for someone like Deion Sanders. I think he's in a special situation to do that. However, I don't know if you can do that in a situation like Colorado. Like, maybe you can do it at UCLA. Maybe you can do that at Northwestern, University of Miami, but I don't
But-
know if you can do that at a Colorado university.
But this is prime time, bro. Prime time. You think he can't say what he want to say?
I think he's going to have to make sure that donors are satisfied with his language. Because if donors don't like the way that you talk, they're going to find a way to get
donors.
you.
If he's winning,
Like, at the end of the day, though, it's going to come
they
down to
not
whether or
gonna
not
give
they're
a
winning.
fuck.
Nix, what you
If
say?
They're winning.
State had
Hold
Hold on,
donors-
hold on. I want to hear from
Colorado, I think
Nix
if he
because he hasn't had a chance to
rhetoric
talk
from-
much. Nix, what'd you say?
Oh yeah.
I was just gonna say I agree with Smooth here. I feel like if he's winning, they're not gonna give as long as he's not going OD and saying some crazy shit. Like, at the end of the day, if they're winning games, he's boosting that program. They're selling more tickets. Like, he's gonna be free to say at least what he was saying before.
Yeah,
Okay.
water's wet.
I would.
Ash?
Yeah, I would say that if I was Coach I would say that if I was Coach Sanders, I would just switch my rhetoric from talking about black men, because I've seen those clips on Twitter where he's talking about black men, you do better. If he just changes it to just like young men, where he just like makes rhetoric towards men, goes like more manosphere type shit versus like black men.
Why does he have to do
I
that?
think it would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's what
Because
he's
he's
saying.
going to Colorado.
I also think it's
The white
different
kids
from what.
talking about, hey,
No.
black people, and then like the 30% of black players on your team or 50% whatever on your team are gonna listen to that, but like everyone else is
The
gonna be like,
rest is
what the
like,
fuck? What
eh.
about me? You know, like it's just
But
gonna look
it
really.
it also
fucking weird.
doesn't have to be the same rhetoric whether or not he's talking in the locker room to his players versus at a press conference. Like, he can still talk about black men at press conferences and
Well, up until that
and
one
voice his opinion on
white
that.
student records him and then ends it up on the internet, and then Fox News picks it up.
Yeah, it's
and
got to
then,
toggle for the audience for sure.
And then
Yeah.
OAN, and then all the other right wing people.
I can agree that.
but
he's
again,
gonna
like,
have
we
to
know that,
toggle
like-
it for the audience.
I mean, like, we know this. Like, we know that black men, especially if they're talking in a room with other black men, you can speak freely about like the situations. But once you're in mixed company, you're gonna have to tone down the rhetoric. You're gonna have to tone down the language. It's just how it is, because there are, as someone mentioned, like plenty of white people who feel excluded in language like that. Where you're gonna have to change it to like, men got to do better. We got to be better men. Like, you can just like get rid of black from there, but he's gonna have to do that because again, he's going to Colorado. Maybe he get away with that if he's going to Miami. Like, if he's going to Miami, which would have been a pretty decent situation to be in. But I don't think you can do that in a Colorado.
I don't.
But again,
No,
I don't think
Colorado
Colorado's
also
the
knew what they were
last step.
getting.
Like, to be very, very clear, I don't think Colorado's the last step for Deion Sanders. Again, this is just a stepping stone to another thing. Like, college coaches, schools go through college coaches, like fraternities go. Never mind. Like, there's just a lot of like a lot of step off. Like, it's just a stepping stone to another university. So like, maybe he ends up there. He has no interest going in the NFL, and he made that clear. But we'll see once Dallas gives him a call, because Jerry Jones is getting a little desperate. So maybe he can.
Jerry Jones is getting old. He might not be there
Yeah,
too much
but he'll
longer.
give it to his kids. So like,
I want us to release athletes, okay, people in sports and entertainment, from being our heroes and the people that we fucking look up to for guidance. I want to release them from that contract. I want to release us from that level of bondage as black people. That's fucking. It's
Oh,
fucking
wait,
ridiculous.
no, time
We are
out,
too bound. We are
You
too
can't just
bound
give it to
to our
black people.
entertainers. No, we are too bound to our entertainers
We
that
are
sports figures.
Wait,
Yes.
time out.
What?
People in
every
general
time,
are.
People
look,
buying
when you look at
$5,000
entertainers-
tickets to Taylor
wait,
Swift
wait, I'm gonna
concerts.
finish my point. No, I'm gonna finish my point.
Can I
When
go
we look
after
at
him, Prime?
Sure.
Entertainers, people in sports, all that, like our famous people, we look to them instead of looking for someone that should be the person that actually speaks on said issue, right? We don't magnify that person. We magnify this other person that's like kind of knows what's going on, kind of don't, and then it becomes like, oh, sports must be our way out. It has to be. Oh, music must be our way out. And there's so many other things that people could do, but every time when we magnify these people, that's all our people see. Like, just release them from that contract, release us from this bondage, and let's grow
Here.
past this.
Go ahead,
I
Pyro.
don't care
Pyro
about
then
Deion
RYYZN.
Sanders.
Yeah, cool. I get the sentiment you going for, Smooth, but I think you just hit it like the wrong direction completely. Like, no, I think celebrities, people who like I think we should have these people in society we look up to. I think the problem is when we expect these niggas to put in their own hard work and money to fix issues that the government should be fixing, that the colleges should be putting the money to themselves. I'm not looking for a rapper to fix the systemic issues within a black community. I'm not looking for a football player to fix the systemic issues when it comes to college racism. That's not why I look up to these motherfuckers. That shit I would rely on the government for and shit. So like when I hear your point, I'm not disagreeing with it fully. It's just like I want to look up to these people, but we need to keep in mind we ain't looking up to these people as a replacement for the government to fix our issues. Like we gotta hold the government
I
and the
agree with that.
motherfuckers in charge and accountable.
I
Like
agree.
that's like my only disagreement. Keep the fucking people as icons and shit for the black community. Look up, yeah. But like, gotta remember, no, the government's gotta fix like half of the issues that they started like 250 fucking years ago, bro. Like, and then we gotta look at our community and shit like that too. It's like it's a long step, and these niggas ain't the way to fix it. These aren't the people who are gonna fix it themselves.
We need people. We need like black people need the type of politicians the same way that white people look at the founding fathers. We don't have that. Like I'm just keeping it real with you. Like we've never
we have Martin Luther King. He said the one thing, right? Content of your heart and not the color of your skin. Like that's the guy we have.
Go ahead, RYYZN.
I will go ahead. I will go ahead. I'll go ahead and say this now. I nominate Prime and Shark30 as two people to lead us in order to get some more black people to be more into politics, so that we can end up getting a lot more done in the government. How about that?
Damn, someone didn't see that mixed race tweet then. All right, we gotta send a
We
tweet
gotta-
your way
we gotta-
about Patrick Mahomes.
Like
What tweet are we talking about?
That's all
I
good.
know-
It's if you know, you know.
I know it.
If you
I
know,
know it.
you know.
Okay, so
That tweet sucked.